Good morning. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you more than words can say. We're on this journey together, and it wouldn't be a journey without you. So today's lesson is lesson 68, Love Holds No Grievances. And this is a lesson actually close to my heart. So we'll start and then I'll insert my commentary today. I have a lot to say on this one. So it says, you who are created by love like itself can hold no grievances and know yourself. Self is capitalized. To hold a grievance is to forget who you are. To hold a grievance is to see yourself as a body. To hold a grievance is to let ego rule your mind and to condemn the body to death. Perhaps you do not yet fully realize just what holding grievances does to your mind. So I'm going to pause there for a second. And grievances are resentment. That's really what it is. Anger, resentment. And if we look deeply at our lives and the things going on around us, we can see the damage of resentment. Whether it's deep-seated or something brand new, it affects relationships with families, partners, co-workers, every part of our life. And we seem to sort of have a difficulty in addressing this right now, and we excuse a lot of bad behavior about it. Now, I'm in recovery, and addressing resentments is actually a huge part of the 12 steps. And I think it's interesting that we're seeing so much addiction right now at a time when I think we're sort of condoning being upset, being a victim, being angry, and being resentful or holding grievances. I had to take a look at the damaging pattern of resentment in my life, because what you find out in 12-step programs is that really the reason that, or the fuel driving your addiction, whatever it is resentment. And it's such a freeing thing. So your fourth step, you have to write down all of your resentments, all the people I was mad at, all the things they did. I had to do all this work to turn those things around and take a look at where I had created those situations where I was being selfish, self-seeking, dishonest, and afraid. And then I had to read it to someone and go make amends. And all of that is about addressing resentment and discovering the freedom of forgiveness. And I love that it's part of this work, because I know the freeing power of it, and I know the damaging power of grievances on the mind from a very personal level. So it says, perhaps you do not yet fully realize just what holding grievances does to your mind. It seems to split you off from your source and make you unlike him. It makes you believe that he is like what you think you have become, for no one can conceive of his creator as unlike himself. Again, this fascinates me. A huge part of 12-step programs is finding a power greater than yourself. While they call it a genetic, potentially, or physiological disease, the reality when you get in is that it's a spiritual dis-ease. And when I first came into the program, I had a very difficult time, as everyone does, with the spiritual component, because I was an atheist and I was never going to believe in any of that. And I didn't know this deeper part, that I thought, really, that God would be like me and who would want to worship someone who was thinking and living the way I was at the time. Shut off from yourself, which remains aware of its likeness to its creator. Yourself seems to sleep, while the part of your mind that weaves illusions in its sleep appears to be awake. Can all this arise from holding grievances? Oh, yes, for he who holds grievances denies he was created by love, and his creator has become fearful to him in his dream of hate. Who can dream of hatred and not fear God? And that lands my point. And I'm so excited because I know the freeing nature of releasing resentment. And obviously I'm not a floating guru, so I must have more. And you accumulate them all the time, really. But that our resentment actually comes between us and God is such a powerful message, and our ability to flow love in all areas of our life. It is as sure that those who hold grievances will redefine God in their own image, as it is certain that God created them like himself and defined them as part of him. And it's interesting because you're also seeing a lot more resistance to the conversation of God. And I have to say it must be this, because the options for believing in God that we see out there don't really work for us. And really, truly, we're defining God as us. And that doesn't seem like a very honorable force to connect with, at least at this time for a lot of folks. It is as sure that those who hold grievances will suffer guilt as it is certain that those who forgive will find peace. It is as sure that those who hold grievances will forget who they are as it is certain that those who forgive will remember. And it's such an interesting point here that when we're angry or resentful, that we experience guilt as a result. Oftentimes we're blaming everyone else in our life, and we think we're pushing people away because we're angry with them, but it's really about the guilt that we feel. And that was one very cool process of the 4th step. I've done a few, but in the 12-step program is you basically write down all these reasons you're angry. And if you're doing it right, you then go and do what's called a turnaround, which takes it and actually turns it on yourself. Like I said, you just take a look at where you're selfish, self-seeking, dishonest, and afraid for every single resentment and what the truth was. And in almost every case, you find that you did something to get the ball rolling, or you did something or reacted in a way that produced, although they don't explicitly say it the way this does, which I think would be helpful, guilt. And as a result, you have guilt, you have shame, so you sort of build up this case against people, and it feeds resentment, but it's more about guilt and shame. And this can apply to anyone. I mean, I'm applying this to the 12-step process, which is an extreme case, although I think so many people now have struggled with some kind of addiction issue or have some kind of imbalance in their life. And if you're experiencing something like that, I would invite you to look at where you hold resentment, and if you can see where you're feeling bad about that. I think it's really the guilt and shame that's important to get to help release the resentment. And it's so easy to forgive when we find our own part in events and don't completely feel like a powerless victim. Would you not be willing to relinquish your grievances if you believed all this were so? Perhaps you do not think you can let your grievances go. That, however, is simply a matter of motivation. Today we will try to find out how you would feel without them. And this is also getting at, you don't have to do a really long 4th step involved process. You could just ask them to be removed. But if you're really feeling backed up, I would encourage you to find a process like that to help release. It certainly, it transformed me and my life. Begin today's extended practice period by searching your mind for those against whom you hold what you regard as major grievances. Some of these will be quite easy to find. Then think of the seemingly minor grievances you hold against those you like and even those you love. It will quickly become apparent that there is no one against whom you do not cherish grievances of some sort. Now, this takes honesty, and when you haven't flexed this muscle, it can be difficult to find these at first. We really like to be right about things and sort of prop ourselves up as holier than thou, but secretly we're punishing. We're punishing ourselves. So it's really powerful. I mean, when I was reading this the first time, I came up with things as simple as like, I was annoyed with my dog for whining and waking me up. You know, it's even the little things that exist. And it is interesting. There's going to be something with almost everyone. And of course, the big ones are easier to find. We're all upset with bosses or coworkers or, our kids or parents or somebody that we can, an ex, somebody we can find that really hurt us in some way. But it's the little ones that take a little more searching and honesty. Okay, this has left you alone in all the universe in your perception of yourself. So resentment and grievances isolate us. They continue to create separation because there's an us and a them. And we're trying to bring everything together. Determine now to see all these people as friends. Say to them all, thinking of each one in turn as you do, I would see you as my friend, that I remember you as a part of me and come to know myself. Spend the remainder of the practice period trying to think of yourself as completely at peace with everyone and everything, safe in a world that protects you and loves you, and that you love in return. Try to feel safety surrounding you, hovering over you and holding you up. Try to believe, however briefly, that nothing can harm you in any way. At the end of the practice period, tell yourself, love holds no grievances. When I let all my grievances go, I will know I'm perfectly safe. The short practice period should include a quick application of ideas in this form. Whenever any thought of grievance arises against anyone, physically present or not, say, love holds no grievances. Let me not betray myself. In addition, repeat the idea several times an hour in this form. Love holds no grievances. I would wake to myself by laying all grievances aside and wakening in him. Okay, so we're basically just asking for this release. And maybe I'll even give a little exercise of what I used to do with resentment. Just gonna see if I could by chance find. Yes. As just another source for reference, if you know anything about Abraham, this is actually from an Abraham flip book from Esther and Abraham Hicks. Totally unrelated to Course in Miracles, more positive, doesn't really use words like God or Holy Spirit, uses words like source and inner being. The two parts of you are your physically focused self and your non-physically focused self, so much softer language. But here is from the flip book. This was a couple days ago. And considering what we're reading, I'm just going to repeat it here. Okay? Spend the remainder of the practice period trying to think of yourself as completely at peace with everyone and everything, safe in a world that protects you and loves you and that you love in return. Try to feel safety surrounding you, hovering over you and holding you up. Try to believe, however briefly, that nothing can harm you in any way. Okay. And it says here, friends, there's absolutely nothing in this universe to be guarded against. It's from the flip page, unrelated. You exist as beings that vibrate in a place of absolute well-being. Tell yourself that again and again. Know it, feel it, allow it, be the evidence of it. Be the evidence of it for others so that they will know it a little more and trust it a little more. Let your life be the one life that's not out of control so that you can give one other person the reason to believe that all can be well. Shared joint experience. Very excited to go through this with you today. Again, thank you so much for being here. And so excited to generate more love with you.